This is Frank Islam, Chairman and CEO of FI Investment Group and your host of Washington Current Review, where we interview leading voices from business and politics that impact you, the viewer. Today, our guest is Marinder Sethi. He is with Business USA. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mr. Islam.
Mr. Sethi. Tell me a little bit about your background and about this company that you have called, and explain to me a little bit to the audience who you are and what do you do for this company?
I have a company called Business USA, as you just mentioned. We've been in business for about 8 years actually. It's a business brokerage company. We basically assist small businesses in buying and selling. So if somebody is looking to sell their business or they're looking to buy a new business, they would call our company. We would go and do the business valuation, and that's what the company does.
So you're a merger acquisition guy, eh?
At a small scale, yes.
A small scale.
We usually tend to focus more on mergers and acquisitions which are under $20 million.
Okay, so on a small scale.
Yes.
So you do the due diligence and get the attorney involved and write the
Absolutely.
purchase agreement and so on and so forth.
Very well. We usually always get the attorneys and the CPAs involved to do the financial due diligence and the legal side, but we are the ones who bring the buyer and the seller together.
So how do you foresee or forecast the U.S. economy in 2013? Do you think we are road to recovery? The market has surged yesterday and today. Is the economy going to be robust in 2013?
I think the stock market is a leading indicator. Usually I see that...
it surged yesterday.
It surged yesterday.
It's surging today.
Surging today also. And I feel the economy is on the right track right now. I can speak from a Main Street point of view. A lot of sellers and buyers that I talked to till about 2 years back, there were a lot of sellers who were coming to me and saying, I'm really struggling, I need to sell my business, I need to move on, do something else. There were not enough buyers in the market. Now I see most of the sellers who are not looking to sell their business. They
want to expand the business.
They want to grow their business.
Right.
There are more buyers who are coming back into the market.
Okay.
I see a surge in the number of buyers who are coming back into the market. In fact, we have done in 2013, in the last 3 months, more business than we did in the entire year of 2011 or 2012.
So you see a green shoots in the economy.
Absolutely.
And economy will be on a road to recovery. What do we need to do, as for the administration and the Congress is concerned, to make sure that we continue on this path forward?
You know, I think the president is already doing a lot in spite of all the rhetoric. I have to say that I give the president full points for easing the lending, helping the small business as far as this president has put into effect 18 tax cuts for small business. Mm-hmm. That's incredible. He's done probably more than any other president in the past. His healthcare policies are helping the small business cut down on healthcare costs. There is still a lot more that needs to be done. I still hear from my clients all the time that it is so difficult to get a loan. It's easing.
You're right, the capital. The capital to grow. So what happened to the money, the bill that was passed called Small Business Job Act, which put in about 22 or maybe $30 billion? What happened to that? They gave the money to the community, what you call the small bankers, and then they turn around and they repay that loan back to the government.
Which is perfectly legal in a way, but I mean,
but that's not what the intent was.
No, it never trickled down to the small business who needed it the most.
Exactly, the mom and pop shop.
Mom and pop
organization. They
independently owned, owner-operated businesses.
You're absolutely right.
And that money never trickled down to them. And that is one of the reasons. I mean, now as the economy is picking up, you can actually see more lending being done. But there's a lot more that needs to be done.
I agree with you. What role do you think small business administration can play that could be very effective to make sure the small business have an access to the capital and they should be able to prosper and grow?
I think, again, just ease of lending. The biggest.
Do you think they should get into the lending business?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I think the community banks do an outstanding job in doing that.
Okay.
I think the community banks do an outstanding job in doing that. Cutting down on some of the restrictions and the regulations would be certainly helpful. continuing to...
So roll back some of the regulations?
Yeah, roll back some of the regulations. That's extremely...
But a lot of regulations are for the government level, at the county level, at the state level. So they all have to play together.
If you really ask a small business person who's actually wearing so many different hats,
Yeah.
just going and dealing with so many, I mean, just to file your own taxes, you have to go through so many hoops. And then getting a loan, oh my God, the amount of paperwork, it's almost as if you're getting ready to go on moon. That's how they're checking you. But I mean...
They want to take your firstborn.
Yes, that's exactly right. So the biggest thing right now that is required is access to capital.
Access to capital. Okay. But the opportunity are there for them to expand and grow their business.
Absolutely.
So they need the capital in order for them to expand it.
Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about your thoughts on the economy in terms of the Washington, D.C. area. As you know, the 40% of the economy dependent on the federal spending.
Right.
60% is the economy dependent on the other industry, which is the medicine, which is the biotech industry, healthcare industries. You're talking about the technology areas and the hospitality, which in this
Right.
case, the Hilton Hotel just put their headquarters in Tyson's Corner.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about how the economy is doing, and do you think we should be rowed to not in terms of what I consider the it'll be soft landing or it'll be crash if the sequestration does take into effect?
Let's talk a little bit about the local
Sure.
DC economy. DC is, I think, one of the most economically confident cities in the country.
It's very rich. It has is the 3 wealthiest counties in the United States.
And the top 9 counties in the country out of the 15 are in Virginia and Maryland.
Wow.
The top 9 out of the 15. And there's something. And
So
there's
what is, you talk about the wealthiest county because of the federal government and some of
Right,
that industry, but what makes this country, this region, which is so rich, attractive for people to do their business? Give me a couple of things.
First and foremost, the unemployment rate is very, very low. It's only about 5%. I think the going rate in the country right now is about 7.5 or 7.7%. Very high level of education. Almost half of the adults
So
in
it's
this
skilled
city are
workforce.
very skilled workforce, and then plenty of opportunities. You have a good, strong biotech sector. You have a strong
Very well
IT
said.
sector.
So you have an array of the rich
Absolutely.
industry, which includes the biotechnology and telecommunication
You have
and the
federal-
high-tech industries.
Absolutely. You have the federal government,
So you have close proximity to the federal government.
which provides stability to the economy.
And it turns out that the unemployment rate for the high skill is a little bit lower than for the lower skill. And the reason this area is prospering so well because of the high skill workforce that we have.
Right.
And we have several institutions that that has a center of the learning for higher education as well.
Right.
So what does the small business face as the challenges, as far as you're concerned? You're a small business owner.
Right.
So when you get up in the morning, what do you think we should be doing? The federal government or the state, everybody should be doing to make sure they have access to the capital, the small business should be able to grow the business. As you know, 90% of our economy is dependent on small business.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about it.
It was very interesting. I was reading an article which said that 99% of the employers in this country are small businesses. It really depends how you define small
You
business.
have to be small to become big.
Absolutely. Every company started as a small business.
Even a Boeing started a small business.
Small business.
Correct.
64% of the exports from this country are done by small businesses.
Not quite there. It's close to 50 SME. SME is about close to
Right.
50. The export business, if you look at the Export-Import Bank, it's still transportation, as is still in the aerospace industries. So they're working on a small business and SME enterprise right now.
right.
So I think they will grow.
Okay.
And that's the desire of the administration is as well.
Sure,
They
sure.
should be able to compete in the global market.
Sure. We've already spoken a lot about access to capital, but I think another thing that is really hurting the small business is the high energy cost. The cost, because of that, the commodity prices have gone up. The cost of doing, and I do a lot of retail,
And I want to talk a little bit about the retail of small
a
business.
lot of retail, and the things that I hear is that the cost of goods has gone up so high now that it's becoming really difficult for people to survive, and that's directly related to the high energy cost, which has almost doubled in the last 2 years. The cost of gas has doubled in the last 2 years, and that is having an indirect effect on everything else.
Well, if you have to compete in the 21st century in the global market, there are 2 things that I believe is going to play a very important role. Number one is obviously for the small business access to capital, but also in addition to the gasoline prices to be high, I think that the the healthcare cost is very, very high, and we are the highest healthcare cost in the world.
Right.
In a sense, in the developed countries that
Sure,
we're talking about.
sure.
So tell me a little bit about, we also have many, many advantages if we are going to compete in the global market as well. So, but those are the weaknesses that I see it.
Right,
And I wrote that in my book.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the retail of small business and give me a little bit of feedback, what you're hearing.
I think two key indicators to any economy are the housing and the labor market. The housing market is starting to do well. Unemployment rates are shrinking, and that is having a direct effect on the retail, because when discretionary spending goes up and people are willing to go out and spend the money.
So, but our economy should never be dependent on consumer spending.
But 11% of the people in this country are employed by retail.
Right, that's a true statement. Yeah, you're right.
So
I didn't know it was that high. So how much GDP does that produce, percentage?
I don't know the exact GDP numbers, but I do know that almost half of the GDP is generated by small business.
Okay.
Which is incredible.
Right.
I don't know what is the percentage of the retail in that.
No problem.
But talking about just retail here locally, the challenge is to increase consumer spending, which was being curtailed because the household debt used to be so high. The household debt is coming down, the credit card debt is coming down, people are going out.
And the financial markets are pretty stable right now.
Financial markets are pretty stable. One of the things that I'm starting to realize is the first thing that gets hit in a down economy is people stop eating outside.
Right, so they need to go eat outside. They need to spend money.
This city is now becoming almost like New York, where landlords are asking anywhere between $70 to $80 to $100 per square foot in lease rates.
Wow.
And one of the hottest thing that I get questions on is there any retail, residential, restaurant space available? It's very hard to find right now. And that shows me that people have a lot of confidence in this economy. And that's the reason they're going out and eating, and the restaurant people want to open more restaurants.
So I want to shift the gears a little bit and talk a little bit about, because both of us share a common history and heritage, which is India.
Right.
Right? So let's talk a little bit about what's your view of the India-US economic relationship. The GDP has not done as well last year.
Right.
There's a lot of corruption. It has become deeply dysfunctional.
Right.
So a lot of people are reluctant to, and it's a very corrupt society.
Right.
There's not that much money for infrastructure, especially the power area, the railroad. The infrastructure is a basic fundamental problem.
Right.
Considering all these challenges that India had, what do you think of the U.S. economic relationship with India?
I think India is a great U.S. economic partner for the future. I'm not going to touch on the military aspect of it, but I do know that as an economic partner, India is going to be a very important economic partner.
And what are the growth areas that the U.S. Should be targeting in India besides the infrastructure, which is badly needed?
Infrastructure is badly needed, biotech, pharmaceuticals, telecom, and especially in telecom equipment manufacturing.
Sure.
That's a huge area in which India and the U.S. can cooperate on. But a lot of people are very bullish, and I'm bullish on India also. But again, the central government in India has really not done enough. They have been pretty indecisive in putting into effect a lot of liberal measures that they wanted to take.
You're talking about economic reform.
Right.
But it turns out that there's a land acquisition problem as well. So you can't really build any manufacturing side with the industry or the railroads. Not railroad, I mean just the roads also. So there are some challenges there.
Absolutely.
But you're still bullish.
I'm bullish, and I'm very bullish on the Indo-US economic relationship.
So do you think that our relationship is more secure, more stable, and India also has become an anchor of stability?
I think our relationship with the U.S. is very, very stable. President Obama made a trip, I think it was 2 years back.
He says it's a defining moment in our history.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the local governors. We had Governor McDonald.
And as well as O'Malley went to there.
Governor O'Malley went there. Maryland has actually opened an office in New Delhi.
Yes, they did.
Virginia governor has 2 reps in India representing Virginia as a state.
So they do see a lot of potential economic growth if they work together with India.
Yes.
And so it's a two-way traffic.
Absolutely.
It's a mutually beneficial. So our relationship is based on mutual interest.
Absolutely.
As well as shared values. Those are the quality that we share.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you very much for coming to our show. I appreciated that very much.
Thank you for having me, Mr. Islam.
Yeah, you're most welcome. This is our show. This is Frank Islam. Wishing you a great week. Thank you for watching.